Should female mod players be added in NBA 2K25? Let's talk about it. Now, to preface this conversation, we need to head to Twitter and look at a conversation that I had between two other creators. Now, I did talk to T Tom, 2K, and Boomy. If y'all keep up with the 2K community, you know who these people are. Great content creators. Go check them out. But T Tom said we need female mod players in NBA 2K25 if it hasn't been added already. It's not too late. Please make this happen. Before we dive deeper into this conversation, I'm all for adding female mod players to 2K25 and just 2K in general. I'm not against that whatsoever. So I want that to be known before we get into this conversation. So like I said below T Tom's comment, I said I like the concept, but how would it work? Either the game is going to get more realistic or arcadey. If it's realistic, the female mod players would not have the same athleticism or strength as the males, so how can they play against the males? T-Tom responded and said mod players are merely a skin of imagination by its creator, strength, etc. will be added based on personal preference as they are now, which we already know that, right? Like we have the W in the game, you know what I'm saying? If females in 2K is not something that's new. So that part, yes, it's just something cosmetic. So whatever attributes you add to your mod player, that's strictly up to you. We know that part. Then Boomy came in and said, if we're okay with Bobo having a 99 ball handle and 3-pointer on dark matter cards in my team, then we can suspend reality a tad to get female mod players in the city. I never said I did not want female mod players in the city. If you play my team, then you know that that's on the less realistic side of things. You know, the different cards that they come out with do things that the players themselves cannot do. You got Yao Ming shooting threes, Shaq shooting threes and fading. Like, you know, that's just how my team is. We already know that. Women run pickup / pro in basketball all the time IRL. That isn't something unrealistic. I never said that. It'll be interesting to see if 2K would add some restrictions. And that's the part that I was more focused on. That is what I was getting at behind my comments, is how 2K themselves is going to implement adding female mod players into the park to play with the males. Because right now, since there are no female mod players in the park, a lot of female gamers, we see they run with the male players because they might play the W. To me, it seems like they have way more fun playing, you know, the regular my career park experience that everybody else plays versus playing the W. The W should definitely have a lot more stuff added to it to make it a better experience. I've heard a lot of people complain about the W and that it just needs more added to it. This is the whole reason behind my comments, is how 2K is going to implement it if they decide to put it into 2K25 or another 2K. Reason being is because 2K is looking to keep the game realistic. Like, I wouldn't say that 2K24 is, you know, an arcadey type of basketball game. It's nothing like NBA Streets or like, you know, some type of basketball game like that. They always look for ways to improve the basketball game and make it more realistic, so to speak. Now, of course, we're gonna have people that take advantage of the in-game mechanics, like, you know, certain dribble moves that people test out and that are glitchier than others, or, you know, you might be able to speed boost better out of certain animations, certain step backs that people like to use that may not necessarily be realistic. You know, that's just the mechanics of the game. You know, if 2K wanted to eliminate that, then I guess they could just take out all of those animations and just put quote unquote more realistic animations in the game. But, you know, we do have some animations that people take advantage of that are not realistic. We always do. But you also have people that play the basketball game in a completely different way with a more realistic approach, like Black Cobra or Jersey Bay 93. They're actually doing a lot of different things in the post, you know, using their pivot and just a bunch of different things that normal players on this game do not do. Okay, I'm interested to see how 2K would implement that into the game, because if they're going to stay with the more realistic approach, which is what they have been doing each year, we see the builder, for example, is a lot more restrictive this year. It's harder to make a demigod type of build. You can't do that for real on 24. This year they implemented pro play to give us access to more realistic animations. And where the line is drawn with that is, you know, we have access to all these new animations and more realistic animations that 2K has added in the game, but people still choose to use the same animation restrictions as everybody else. So with that being said, we already know we have restrictions in the builder. You adjust your height, you adjust your weight. That's going to change what you can do with your attributes and what badges you can get. So my question is, if they want to add female mod players in the game and they want to keep it realistic, will there be restrictions on, you know, what they can do attribute wise? Because for example, I have not seen a female hooper that can jump out the gym like a Zion or Anthony Edwards or Aaron Gordon or a Zach LaVine. Okay, I'm not sitting up here trying to discredit female hoopers whatsoever. I have not seen that. I'm not saying that female hoopers cannot dunk. They can. I'm not saying female hoopers cannot be athletic, because they can. They can work to be whatever they want to be. They can train and do whatever they want to do. The athleticism compared to female hoopers and male hoopers is just not the same. It's just what we've seen. So in terms of 2K and what the female players will be able to do, my question would be, would 2K allow the female hoopers to do the exact same thing that the male hoopers can do attribute wise, or will they place restrictions on it? You know, just like we have restrictions on height and weight and how that affects our attributes, will that be different with the female hoopers because they're females, if that makes sense? Or will they go the more arcadey route and just add female mod players into the park and just let them be able to do the exact same thing that the males can do? You know, have a crazy vert and be able to posterize people so everything could be equal. Because if they went with the realistic approach and the females were restricted and they couldn't, you know, get as high of a vertical as a male player in the park, for instance, would people even want to create a female mod player in the park if they have so many restrictions? It has to be a balance. I'm sure any female playing 2K does not want to be in the park getting dunked on all day. But point being, my question behind it was just how 2K would approach it. I would love to see female mod players in the park, but I would want to know what restrictions they would have, if any. Of course, NBA Live 19 had female mod players, but I didn't play 19 like that. I played it a couple times. I didn't like it enough to keep playing it, so I put it down. So I know nothing about how they implemented the female players on their game and what they could do attribute wise, what restrictions they had. I don't know any of that because I did not play the game for real. But I want to hear y'all thoughts on what you think about female mod players in the park. Do y'all think it's something that 2K should do? How do you think 2K should go about implementing it, like restriction wise, badge wise, etc.? But just going through more of the tweet, Boom said, that's the point. At the end of the day, we're all living out our hoop dreams on NBA 2K. There's a measure of realism, but ultimately it's a video game. Adding the WNBA and female players to the city park, my team wouldn't be game breaking. It's been done before in NBA Street and Live 19. It's not new. Never said that it couldn't be done or that it would be unrealistic. I just said, how will 2K be implementing it? That's the point that I was trying to hit. I'm saying, yes, it is a video game, but it's the type of video game and like the style, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like if somebody wanted to play a basketball game that, you know, didn't have a lot of realistic features and elements in the game, then they would go pick up something like NBA Streets or something that is more arcadey. It's like, you know, it's the same thing with like Call of Duty, for example. Like there's a lot of people in the Call of Duty community who likes the game to be more realistic by having their boots on the ground, and they don't like all the futuristic aspects with all the exosuits and all that stuff like it was in Advanced Warfare. Me, myself included. I prefer boots on the ground, none of that futuristic stuff, like, you know, just straight up plain Jane. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the arcadey style basketball game either. That's not really that realistic. That's how I look at it. But you know, 2K, I think they want to stay on the realistic side of things. You know, of course there's a measure of realism, but at the same time, they keep implementing things to make the game more realistic. Like with this year, we got a whole new badge system. They don't want players out here being able to do everything. You know, this year for builds, some great advice was to focus on, you know, what you do best when you create your build, and focus on a couple things that you do well instead of trying to make a build that can do everything. They kind of want that to be more realistic, and I think that's representative of role players in the league. You know, you have players that do their specific job, and I think that's another step forward towards realism. So, you know, I don't think they're going to get less realistic as they keep coming out with games. You know, they're just going to keep finding more ways to make the game realistic, but I could be completely wrong. They might come out with something in the future that's not realistic at all, but the trend that we've seen over the years in the direction that 2K has taken and where it is now, I would say that the game is just going to keep getting more and more realistic. So I don't know, that's just my thoughts on it. Y'all can let me know what you think down in the comment section, but be sure to stay tapped in and make sure y'all have the post notifications turned on and that you are subscribed to the channel, because 2K25 is around the corner and we will be covering everything it is 2K25, so you don't want to miss out on all the news and the different topics that we will be talking about on the channel. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like down below. Be sure to stay safe out here, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.